Hello everyone, I'm Jeremiah Blue, and today on the Fantasy Football Uptick, I will be breaking down the top two rookies of this year's class, which is Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor. Now, before I get into why, I'm going to say basically where I would rank them. So if we're doing just a redraft standard league, that means no dynasty, no points per reception, no half point PPR, any of that. I'm going to go with, I would go Jonathan Taylor. And basically every other setting, I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire because PPR leagues, half point PPR leagues, I usually tend to lean towards the guy that's going to catch passes. And in those formats, I think, especially where he landed, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be catching a lot of balls. Plus, that's kind of what makes him special. In a redraft standard, again, I'll draft Jonathan Taylor. In a redraft PPR, I would draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Redraft half point PPR, draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And basically, even in standard dynasty, I would go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire based off of his landing position. So let's first talk about the teams. Then I'll talk about basically who's in front of them or in front of them on the depth chart. And then I will talk about the two individuals separately and kind of point out why I have them ranked the way I do. Okay. So first is Kansas City Chiefs. So he lands there with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, which we obviously know that they just won a Super Bowl. That's going to be a great team. The thing with the Kansas City Chiefs is when I'm projecting for like dynasty, again, that's why I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire higher on all my dynasty rankings, is because that's not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes, if I had to guess who's going to be the best offense for the next 5 years, which is kind of what I'm looking for, because again, the rookie contracts are about four years, and then if you're drafting in the first round, they can extend you that fifth year. So with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I expect him to be there at least 4, but most likely 5, and he's going to be a part of this offense. So this offense that I project to be the best offense in the league, if I had to guess, in the NFL. And I don't actually think that there's another offense even close if I was going to project. Like, I would put a lot of money down saying that the Chiefs over the next 5 years are going to have the most prolific offense of anybody in the NFL, right? So first round pick running back, typically he's going to get an opportunity to be the lead back during that stretch, and it's easier to project that he's going to be successful, right? Looking more into the Kansas City Chiefs, they ran the ball last year 327 times. That's just strictly running backs. I'm sorry, non-quarterbacks. So 11 different players ran the ball 327 times. They like to get the ball to the receivers and the tight ends, and basically everybody runs the ball there in Kansas City. Everybody's so fast, right? Targets out of the backfield, strictly running backs, was 110. Now, you got to remember that Patrick Mahomes missed 3 games last year and was really 4 because he only threw for 76 yards in the game that he got hurt right before missing 3 games. They ended up collecting 18 touchdowns. So if we compare that to the Colts essentially, they ran the ball more on the ground. They weren't targeted as much. They were only targeted 91% of the time, but they're bringing in Phillip Rivers. So I'm not making the case for one or the other. I'm just giving you all the facts so that you understand why I chose the way I chose, right? So the Colts are bringing in Phillip Rivers. Now, if you compare Phillip Rivers to Patrick Mahomes, I mean, where would you rather your guy be, right? What the Colts have is an amazing offensive line. And if I was going to project, same way I would project with the Chiefs, that they're going to have the best offense, if I had to project, I would project that the Colts will probably have the best offensive line going forward for the next couple of years. But that one's a lot closer for me, comparing him to a bunch of the other teams that have great offensive lines in comparison to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid being the most prolific offense in the league. Because Patrick Mahomes, to me, is far and away the best quarterback, and the ones that are even close to him are getting older while he's still young, right? So in that aspect, Jonathan Taylor went to the Colts. So if I'm projecting dynasty-wise, I'm going, okay, offensive lines, they go up and down. Like, one year, the offensive line will be the best offensive line, and everybody's going, oh, they're going to be so great. And then one guy gets hurt, and that just messes up everything. Or they can't pay a guy, somebody holds out. It's a lot harder to project that this offensive line is going to be great. Not to mention Phillip Rivers, 1 year away from retirement? He's going to retire next year. He's going to retire the year after that. I don't know. And then who's going to be the quarterback? How good is that offense going to be that Jonathan Taylor has to be behind, right? So again, a lot harder to project the Colts than it is to project the Chiefs that we expect to be dominant, offensively at least, for the next couple of years. The other thing is Frank Reich versus Andy Reid. Now, I actually love both of these coaches, but Frank Reich likes to tend to split the running back carries. Now, Andy Reid's been doing it lately, but I think that has more to do to injury, right? Because Damian Williams once he's there, he's kind of the guy. If you saw that playoff run, I mean, he was man on fire during that playoff run. And in the Super Bowl, no, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes deserves it because he was the MVP for the entire year for the Chiefs. But, I mean, in the Super Bowl, Damian Williams was the MVP. Like, Damian Williams balled out in the Super Bowl, right? So I think Andy Reid is more of a, hey, if you're the best running back, you will be the best running back. We've seen that with McCoy back when he was with the Eagles. We've seen that with Westbrook when he was with the Eagles. So Andy Reid has shown in the past that he's okay with going with a full workhorse back. Frank Reich, on the other hand, is kind of one of those guys that historically he likes to mix in a passing down back. Even last year with Mack, when he was healthy, Hines was getting a lot of the passing down work, and I don't see that changing. Hines is an elite passing down running back, and Jonathan Taylor isn't. So you bring Jonathan Taylor, even if he does unseat Mack, he's still going to be giving away third down work as long as Frank Reich is there. And so again, the upside with Clyde Edwards-Helaire moving forward after this season, we're going to get to that when we talk about the contracts of Damian Williams and Marlon Mack, after this season are going to be a lot more likely that he could be an actual workhorse, even though there's a huge size difference just based off the type of offense that the Chiefs run and the type of running back that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is. If you would have asked me prior to the draft which one has a better opportunity to be a workhorse back, I would have easily have said Jonathan Taylor, but the landing spot is dictating where I'm like, okay, now the upside now is changed based off of the landing spot. The Chiefs would be the perfect landing spot for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And honestly, the way that Jonathan Taylor runs, that's probably the best landing spot for him career-wise, based on the fact that he has so many touches coming into the NFL. You kind of want a team that's going to pull back those touches again. And I still think he's going to have 200 to 250 touches this year. So I think he's probably going to be closer to the 200, like just over the 200, because he is the most dominant. He is going to take that Marlon Mack job pretty quick, I think. But let's get back down to comparing these two teams, right? So Rivers, again, he comes in, he likes to throw the ball to the running back. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to be that involved in the passing game, but in the interest of being completely upfront, I'm not trying to sway you towards my decision. They're going to pass it to the running backs a lot more than they did last year. So it's going to be closer to what the Chiefs are going to do, right? I threw out the caveat that Mahomes missed 3 to 4 games. Well, Rivers is changing the dynamic of the Colts. And again, the running back is going to be more involved in the pass game with Phillip Rivers there because he's always involved the running backs into the passing game. That being said, again, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be more of the change of pace back, or vice versa. Hines will be the change of pace back, whereas he's going to be more of the first and second down back. Think more like a Nick Chubb in relation to Kareem Hunt. I mean, it doesn't take anything away that Nick Chubb is talented. Jonathan Taylor is talented. It's just taking away the fact that there's another talented running back on this field, on the team, and they're going to utilize him in the passing game, and that means Jonathan Taylor will be off the field. Whereas on the other end, I think year one, Damian Williams, so if we move down to the actual running backs, Damian Williams to me is a better running back than Marlon Mack. And I know a lot of people are going to go, what? Damian Williams wasn't anything until he got to Kansas City. But once he got to Kansas City, he blew up. And on a game-per-game basis, when he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL based off of his situation. Don't get me wrong, I am giving all the credit to the Kansas City Chiefs system, but he works great in that system. He's a better pass blocker at this stage in his career than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he's more athletic as far as speed goes. So he's got the take it to the house, the home run speed, right? So Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming into the draft, that's basically the one thing that he doesn't have that in size that Jonathan Taylor has, right? So I think that's going to be more of a split. In fact, Damian Williams by the end of the year is probably still going to have more touches/snaps than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I think he'll be on the field a little bit more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think the Chiefs can afford to bring him along a little slower, make sure that he's good in the pass protection, because again, that to me was his biggest weakness, and it has more to do with his size and being like pass blocking against NFL-sized linebackers, defensive ends, those kind of things. So honestly, I think about a year in, he'll be a lot sharper with that. You're not going to put him in and take a chance that he's going to get Patrick Mahomes lit up, like when you got a guy like Damien Williams who excels in that category, right? So Jonathan Taylor, on the other hand, Jonathan Taylor comes in, he's got to take over Mac's job. And to me, Marlon Mack is just a guy. So I think that he's going to be able to take that job. Remember, Damien Williams, like I just said, should have been the MVP of the Super Bowl. I mean, Andy Reid's got to have some sort of, thank you for that. Like, hey, we believe in you, and so does that team. Whereas Marlon Mack, he's never really been anything other than just a guy running behind a great line. So I think, don't get me wrong, Marlon Mack will be involved, and he'll eat into Jonathan Taylor, but I think touches, but it might be one of those things where early on Marlon Mack's probably getting more touches, and it just kind of glides towards the end of the year. Jonathan Taylor playoff time is going to be getting you more touches. Again, I'm not really recommending any of these guys for a season, a redraft league, but if we're comparing the rookies, which rookie goes first off the board in a redraft league, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor off the board first because I think he's got a clearer path to the starting role, even though he was drafted in the second round versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was drafted in the first round. That name is going to kill me during these videos because I got a CEH. I'm just going to start saying that. I don't know, or just call him Clyde, right? That'll work. So when I was looking over these players prior to the draft, I liked Jonathan Taylor more because I felt like he fit into more systems. He had more upside to me. Like he could be a workhorse back, just the way he was in Wisconsin. He comes out, I was trying to compare who he reminds me of. And the truth is, he reminds me of no one. I mean, the only player that his stats kind of fit with, like the fact that he came out of college, he's the size-speed combo that he is, and then he was as productive as he was in college. The only person in the history of the NFL that I could find was Herschel Walker. That's the only comparison to him. And you might say, oh, well, we saw, Ryan Matthews and we saw Adrian Peterson. Well, he's bigger than those guys, and he was more productive than them in college. And Adrian Peterson, although that is a really close comparison to some extent, Adrian Peterson came out of college injured. Really, Jonathan Taylor hasn't been hurt. The biggest knock on him is that he's got so many carries. The reason he's got so many carries is because he's never freaking hurt. So is that, now if you go to Herschel Walker had all those carries, came into the NFL, and then he had a very injury-plagued career, and a lot of that probably has to do with how many carries he got while he was in college. So is that something to take into account? I have a hard time with that. I don't really like taking into account, oh, he's probably going to get injured even though he's not actually hurt, just based on the fact that he's been worn down. Now, don't get me wrong, if I'm a coach, I would totally want to stay back away from that. But I mean, if I'm just protecting what I see on tape, again, he's a big super athlete who's very productive in college, and honestly, we haven't had anything like him, and he's coming into a situation where he's behind the best offensive line in football. So he's that much better than Marlon Mack. I just foresee him getting 200 to 250 touches. I mean, by touches, I mean rushes. I don't think he's going to be very involved in the pass game really at all, as I've already stated. But again, will he have a banged-up, shorter career based off his style? Maybe. Whereas on the other end, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he projects more like, and Andy Reid said this, a Brian Westbrook, right? He's about the same size, but to me, before Andy Reid said that, I was thinking Alvin Kamara. Relatively slow, more quick than fast kind of guy, but he excels in the receiving game. And that's what Clyde Edwards-Helaire does. He had 55 receptions his senior season, and he is so quick. Side to side, lateral quickness is what it was. Vision and lateral quickness were amazing. I mean, everything you watched, he just seems like such a smart player. The truth is, he's going to be on the field about 50% of the snaps. I still think he's got a lot of upside, a guy that I would draft. Honestly, I'll take whichever one is falling, whether it's Damien Williams or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I assume it's going to be Damien Williams because I assume most people are going to go for the rookie taken in the first round of the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'm all for. These are the two best rookies. So if you're in a rookie draft, dynasty-wise, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is your guy. If you're in a standard non-PPR, because again, PPR, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could end up getting 50 receptions this year just based on the fact that that's his skill set. That's what makes him special. And going forward, I can see him averaging about 650 to 750 yards per year and, getting upwards of 100 targets, kind of like an Austin Eckler type. he's going to be in that mold, right? Except he was drafted to be that. And we've already seen that Andy Reid will lean on a guy like a Brian Westbrook because they're about the same size, and he's not going to be worried about the size difference as far as that goes. And again, he will always have a change of pace, big back that he's probably going to be paired with, but he will be the lead back on the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward. So that's my opinion on the two guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like what you heard, like, subscribe. Until next time, see ya!